We are live, and now we're going to officially. They're having quorum problems. I had invited Senator White just because it was her bill. And I have a feeling, since it calls for a study, we were informed the study and it's done and recommended no changes. The one you are not allowed to shut off anybody who has any medical condition or equipment. You can't shut electricity off during cold spells. We do not have a reciprocal thing during heat waves, probably because until recently that has not been an issue here. It can be. I found out that Becca's constituent, the issue was that she was paying for utilities in her rent and her landlord did not pay the utility bill. And the big cost was she lost food in her refrigerator and freezer. Wow. And there is, I suppose you could do small claims court on that one, would be your only recourse. But that's the story on that. So that one I don't think we can actually help with, but I wanted to have the committee have a discussion about, we could, testimony was they just asked the utilities not to turn off the electricity during heat waves, and they comply. They don't need a granny dying of heat stroke because they shut off her air conditioner that they do sell to the public. So that one, we're running into a bunch of these that there's nothing we can do, and there's nothing.
Why is this one in this committee? Does it have the
It's we are responsible for utilities. This is an electric utility regulation. And so before I'm going to start a second section up there for bills that we aren't going to do, that's one. And I wanted to run it by you all.
So this is the only committee it goes to? It doesn't go to?
No, this would be it.
Okay.
If we, I mean, it's here. If we kill it, it's dead.
So what exactly are we acting or not acting on? Oh, I
The
see.
bill, as I remember, called for a study about a payment or a subsidy
Yeah.
for utility rates. Other states have that. Massachusetts is the one that comes by. They deregulated.
Yeah.
So they don't have any control over their utility rates. It's just in the market. We have not deregulated. So
I would be okay with this study.
So,
no, the study's been done.
yeah, so that's the,
Oh, so now we're enacting the actual, I see.
We're asking for a study that has been done.
Okay.
It was, and we posted it on our website, I think last week.
the study concluded by our PUC recommended to not create a new broad-based electric rate affordability program because there's already multiple programs that support this. And
Got
the
it.
real burden is like heating and transportation costs, not necessarily electricity. So we asked for the study and they concluded to not do this. Now
Got
this calls.
Okay. Don't create a new structure because it's more about a cost driver, the cost of, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so that the one thing that isn't, that they asked, that the bill asked for was that no shut off during the summer. With all of these, and we went through this with COVID, once you say you can't shut it off, there's a certain amount of people who will not pay it because there's not any consequences. And once I get my second notice and know the third one's coming, I'll run in and pay the bill
Mhm.
or part of the bill. That makes it difficult for the utilities to budget. And, so that's, my thing says, that it's not,
It sounds like that instance was really an odd, like,
Yeah.
case that probably.
we had the landlord from hell.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, how often does that happen?
Yeah. But you'll get the landlord in saying, well, the minute you said you can't evict them during COVID, they stopped paying rent and I've still got to pay my property taxes. So there's always a fine line there. And I got 2 letters from Wyndham County telling me to pass this bill. But we would have to come up with a way to subsidize them,
Mhm.
which would mean we'd have to raise money somewhere. Okay. And then there's 205. That's the AI bill. And I just thought after hearing yesterday's presentation from NCSL, we should have some time to talk about data centers. I don't know why I'm assuming the 2 or 3 we've got are in Chittenden County, maybe. You know where they are?
At least one is.
No, there's, I looked at the map they
Yeah.
had, there's 2 in Chittenden County and
Stowe.
1 in Stowe.
The one in Stowe,
Yeah.
a data center.
But I don't think the data centers that we have would actually
not-
meet the definition of a data center in the bill.
Yeah.
The bill is about these massive things.
Things, and I think we need,
Yeah.
if we're gonna do anything, we need to make sure we
Yeah.
define it so we don't lose what we could probably use as some good and smokeless employees.
Our centers are like in the 1 megawatt.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
And, but so make sure that we define that 10 megawatts is a lot.
It's our peak usage in Vermont is 750 megawatts. So
Yeah.
10's a big deal.
10 is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I just keep hoping the Canadians still love us because they're the source of a large amount of our power.
We have a lot of purchase power agreements.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking, wouldn't this trigger Act 250?
Yeah. I mean, that's the other question is, and I think we should have A&R in or maybe the natural reasons, yeah. The Act 250 board, whatever we change the name to. Or, yeah, we should have them in to talk to us about, do we already have?
Yeah.
We outlawed fracking. Yeah, well, nobody wants to frack in Vermont. We don't have anything to frack.
I mean,
Do we have the controls we need?
I just, Vermont, as we see in the map that was provided, is certainly not a hotbed for even a regular old data center.
No,
So if Act 250 covers one of these 100 megawatt facilities, AI facilities
So
coming down,
let's get
I don't see the point of the bill.
the Act 250 people in to talk to us.
Well, 2 things. One,
No,
I think actually the entity to have in before LURB is the PUC.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that would regulate the electricity part of
that's
it.
what I thought.
The LURB would probably say, until we know what it entails, we can't say anything. But the PUC would be able to say if there's how would they regulate a huge user of electricity. That being said, I also heard that the House Energy and Technology Committee is about to vote out a bill on this
Yes,
very topic.
they
So,
have
Oh, okay.
one, I heard that in the elevator.
yeah, so I don't know if we wanna just wait for that and see what they came up with.
Well, we're gonna
Yeah.
find something to do for the next 4 years.
You can go plow.
I mean, current law, when you build a structure, you have to
Yeah,
like coordinate that with utility. You gotta make sure they have enough power.
yeah, water, but you've got a town that doesn't have zoning. But if you're 10
Utility.
acres, how you? Yeah, but we'll do our due diligence because when it comes over. I don't know how much time we'll have. Take it up, that feeling. At some point, we are going to be deeply into school stuff.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. We could keep learning about seesaws. And what's happening with 220? Is that coming back soon or?
That's,
Tomorrow.
we've got that tomorrow.
What about the unpaid caregiver tax?
That's up there.
Bingo.
And, we will see how things go. Now, what else have we done?
I personally love a refresher on the foundation formula, components and the internal pieces of it, if that's going to come to us in this discussion.
It is the present law. So we can get legal counsel, yeah, we could see if John and Kirby can come in to give us they came in once, but we can ask them to give us a refresher course on how foundation formula would work. Okay. We've got 220, we've got data coming in tomorrow. We're waiting on 225 because that's coming out of economic development. That's that is the sunset on veggie. And we've got 248A that I gather they're doing major things to in the house. So we've taken a look at that. I think we decided yesterday, 165, which was the grand list values of parcels with wetlands, that was already taken into account when it evaluated. 204 is what we've been talking about. 205 we're talking about. We've got the tax credit. We've got Senator Chittenden. 251 neuropsychiatric conditions. This is an insurance coverage, but I can't even pronounce. But Senator Lyons knew exactly what I was talking about and said, "Oh, PANDA."
Yeah.
Okay. We have a bill coming in there, which would be a rare disease advisory council. And part of that, she said, we could ask to get that advisory on.
I'd like to pick your brain about that, or Senator Gill, like, have a constituent that's talked to me about that rare
Okay.
disease one, so maybe totally unrelated to this,
It's,
but
I don't know if it's in health and welfare, it's coming from the House, but there is,
It's already come from the house.
it's come from the
We
House.
have it.
it was the end of last year they passed it, right? I think, the House.
I know, all I know is that we have it and it came over from the house. I don't know when. I'm assuming we're not gonna, I shouldn't assume anything, but are we the second home tax for the school construction? Is that
That's being done.
in another committee?
It's already in Act 73. It's set out and the assumption in 73 is that it would pay for the exemption. The household exemption in the bill, so you don't run into, we have to raise the rate to raise the money to pay you the second home, but until we actually have the listers go through and give us the estimates for the second homes and their value, we won't know how much money there is there or where that rate needs to be set. But that is in the works. If it doesn't, we've got my bill, we've got your bill, there's a couple bills to do that. And the lovely thing about the miscellaneous tax bill is tax is such a broad term that things can go on. I've got the supplemental security income payments for households we haven't done anything with. Sales and use tax on fuel used of residents for domestic use. Tax exemption. We haven't taken testimony on that.
Which bill is that?
That is 274. And I believe it's a use tax exemption. They're, yeah, if your household, we don't tax fuel oil to house residences. We tax fuel oil to businesses, sales tax. This would this would say that you're going to tax it to, I believe, I think the deal, non-homestead residents.
So second homes and Airbnb.
And Airbnbs. I have a feeling that until we know if you're operating an Airbnb and you own the property and it's a short-term rental, then you're not a resident. It's not a residential property. It's a non-residential property, I believe. It's like an apartment building. You're renting it out. It might get problematic if you try and get into the people that rent their back bedroom out during foliage season, or maybe a weekend a month during ski season, but I think we pick up the commercial ones. The second homes, we aren't going to be able to do anything with until we get the listers to tell us who they are and where they are. Okay, the captive insurance bill is here. It's an H bill. And the our housekeeping is here. It's an H bill.
You do those, just get them out of here.
So, okay, 280 is a second homes. School construction aid, we're still taking testimony. We took testimony, 282. And that might be, we had Kirby and Pat and everybody in last Thursday. That one we haven't done. Meals and rooms tax, again, that would make us, I have gotten an email from the Wedding Planners Association on that one. I told you.
You sent out the energy and it came back.
That would put us up there being very high on that one. I'll leave that to you. The salt bill is out.
Yeah.
Okay, the sponsor had asked us to pass over 296, 308 we did last year. We've got 312 we did today. Yes, then there is the fee on posted land. Does anyone?
But we decided yesterday we're not gonna do that.
I thought so. I just want to double.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've been told there's a lot of it that's posted, but how do you get to, if there's rifle shots going around 50 feet for, from your backyard? I don't know. All of that is not information. Homestead for everybody 65, no property I love that, but
Yep.
I don't think we can.
It's something we
afford
can continue to talk about. It's a topic of rises, I think.
Throughout the campaign.
Yes.
it. And the government list of scholarships, we're doing that tomorrow.
Which one?
The governor's list
Oh,
of
161.
scholarship granting organizations, we're gonna do our first walkthrough on that one tomorrow. I don't know what it is.
I know we get a big bottleneck the week after crossover deadline, because that's our finance deadline. Are there bills we know are coming out of committee that are gonna come here that we want to start taking testimony on to like
There's
that
a-
week?
The child,
There is-
early childhood education that I know about, no, I don't.
We're voting on that.
And that might be,
I'm hearing optimism that CPACE might lead your morning committee. Do you think it will come here?
I think it will come here.
I think I probably this morning figured out how it works.
Yeah, exactly. One thing,
That-
after asking you so many different questions, I'm like, oh, okay, now I get
Clean
it.
energy financing.
Oh,
Clean natural resources.
Took me a while.
Like,
Yeah.
to lighten the load of crossover week, if you wanted to take some testimony, if you all think it's.
I think it will, I mean, you should, we ask the chair, but I think we're close on it and we might vote it out on Friday or
Okay.
Tuesday, I don't know. It is something that we should take,
okay,
start
well,
lining
it's
people up
coming
because it is.
in.
It takes a while to
It's a
figure.
while
It's
to
coming
figure.
soon, that'll be,
Yeah.
we'll start taking
Yeah.
testimony.
It's 138, S 138.
Yes, yeah.
So. Who do you wanna have? Just walk through it to start with?
Well, Chris Delia, it's.
Yeah, he was very helpful.
Okay.
The banker, yeah.
Yeah,
Wait, we have, I guess it's left over from last year, a bill on. Credit card fees,
Yeah.
We talked about that.
and it got put up last year because it was in court. The name Chris Delia, Chris arrived in to tell me this morning, and I said, what are we doing to bankers? And he said, nothing. The court had decided on that if it was immediately appealed. So credit card charges and the ability of states or anybody to regulate it is still in court. So that's one we did pass over last year, and it is still being litigated. Not done.
Did we get a bill about, like the rounding on your receipt? I'm getting a bit of chatter in my
Just
Like-
about any-
my district. Yeah, people are getting a little fired up that they're not getting their pennies.
I want to bring pennies to the transaction. Then
You
we'll get the
could-
correct change.
No, like,
you could also have Delia talk to us about that. I don't know if you guys went to your bank's breakfast this year.
Yeah.
You have them in you have.
Yeah,
it's-
yeah, you come
Well,
back.
NCSL did a whole thing. on it.
Well, yeah, he gave us this little spiel about pennies, but then it turned out that the Federal Reserve Bank has done something to ease the penny crunch. So he can address it, but it is kind of it's one of those things that the federal government did without actually having a plan. Shocker.
That's-
The banks are,
Okay,
they've become
so if we
very
need to
miserly.
Bill,
about
we'll
giving
see if
out.
Chris Delia can come in. I mean, we haven't hassled Chris in years.
Just pennies, thinking about removal. I'm telling you, man,
sell two.
they're all collector's items now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just heard a little bit of chatter because there was a minimum amount you could use your credit card for and they fell below that. And then it was like 73 cents was the change and they got 70 or something, whatever. They were short
yeah,
of a
it's rounding, it's the five.
So you
but
can't
there's
get around
no
this.
disclosure
Even if you price all your stuff at a nickel over.
when the tax. hit.
This is tax hits and just, yeah.
Well, I mean, doing things at $9.99 was a retail thing because it sounded cheaper than $10.
Yeah.
So now it's going to be $10 for
If you
Or
want
like-
correct change,
if you want-
bring pennies.
spring pens. So anyway, okay, so we will talk the PUCC, and they'll come in and talk to us about data centers. We will talk to, and that's probably the biggest bill we've got here. We will talk to this tax department, I think. I know they can't do second homes now, and I doubt that anybody knows who's renting out their back bedroom and how you divide that, or I'm gonna tax 1/10 of your fuel oil. I think that's gonna be hard to do.
We have to though, as far as Act 73 and that property. I mean, the thing that we need to do, well, that's something, is to set the definition. And I think in the bill it says, if we don't set the definitions, then the tax commissioner.
What is this?
Yeah,
The definitions of what exactly is, what is a, what is it, a
No,
non-homestead residential, what exactly is that?
Mhm.
If we don't, then the tax commissioner puts
Is
all
going.
for definition.
Yeah, isn't that, again, something House Ways and Means is working on and sending it?
I
over to
know
us?
they
are
are
working
working on a whole lot of that. And they're also working on the yield bill to send over to us. And because they're revenue bills, they generally start them. But I like to keep us in the loop. And maybe we could ask for an update from property valuation as to what. We haven't heard from the Clerks Association. And I'm finding, I asked this morning. Nobody seems to keep any kind of record about property tax delinquencies. If the clerks know
On a town by town basis.
town by town basis, but there's no place so that we can. I mean, we got all those graphs about insurance costs and school costs, but we don't have a graph about. Is there a similar line for property tax delinquencies? Are they in fact going down, up? Are they remaining the same? Somebody said, oh, well, the legal say it's because we changed the definition. Well, we made it a higher amount of 1,900 is sticking in my mind. You can't, if I've got a $50 or a $100 delinquency, you can't send my house tax sale, which should decrease the number of tax sales. I don't think most towns rush into them, but there are stories out there from the good old days. But it seems like we ought to be tracking that information. And probably maybe we'll ask the Clerks Association to come in and talk to us at property valuation about a system. Because again, we know what's going on with schools, we know what's going on with insurance, we don't know what's going on with taxpayers. We don't know.
No, we don't know how many have paid, how many have paid before.
How many, yeah, I mean, that's the other side of the coin. So maybe next week, or even if we, I'm walking on eggshells. I don't want to ask my town clerks for too much, especially not now before town meeting. But
I mean, if somebody wanted to go through and go through every town's report, they listed all right there, right? The amount by year and who the owner, it's all there, but you'd have to go through 251 town reports.
But I would think somebody knows in the clerk's office how many delinquencies there were this year. Period. Not who, not how much, just how many tax delinquencies are there? And how many were there last year?
Austin Davis caught me in the hall about this, so I think he saw some data about this somewhere. I don't know.
Well, there was apparently a show on Hancock,
Granville and Hancock.
Granville and Hancock,
Yep, they're
that
probably-
were seeing it, but they're so small that like 3 delinquencies was 30%
Yeah,
of their
they're in
tax.
my district.
Yeah.
They also had a really, really high, their CLA went up. Or went down, so their tax rate went up because of that. I mean, obviously, school spending too, but that was one of the driving factors for that huge increase, and so.
So,
Those poor towns.
but
had a
I mean,
huge
we should
increase.
be monitoring that somehow. And Montpelier's Roxbury is looking at a huge tax increase, same budget, but it's the CLA in 2 different towns. So a budget is having a very different impact on those towns. But I think we'll try and get some testimony on that and see if we can track it. All right, anything else in here? So we will get PUC and the, what is the new name for whoever's in charge of
Land use review board.
land use review board to come in and talk to us about, and maybe A&R. Do we have adequate tools to protect us from
Onslaught of AI messages.
yeah, well, just somebody coming in and draining every reservoir in the state. Because there's water, PUC probably could control electric. The other thing though is if they're going in to anybody else on the grid. If it requires, if Massachusetts is incenting them and they have to build new transmission lines. Vermont has to pay a share of that cost. They pay a share of our cost, but we aren't building the lines that they could be. So if AI centers start going into places on the new ISO New England, we could be paying some of that cost in our electric rates. But we'll get the PUC to talk to us about that. And maybe we'll say no. This is the first time when we told them we wanted credit for saving electricity and not using it. We were told we were nuts. We got it. What is it? Forward capacity. We get a forward capacity payment. Because of our efficiency efforts, so.
If I were to build a data center, who do I have to get permission from?
Saying PUC or the Lord.
Well,
I
you
do-
start with the
I-
local planning.
Do you, well, assuming you have a local, but do you have to get a permit from the PUC to take a certain amount of electricity? Is there some point in which you can't plug in?
That's the question.
Maybe it's just Act 250 review.
And if IP Act 250. I mean, I know Montpelier said no to a company that came in because they would have used up half of the sewer capacity, so.
So I guess that's a question which I don't know the answer
Yeah,
to. It's
that's-
depending on the size of the data center, do you have to get permission? Or is there some limit based on the electricity used? I mean, if you build a center that is in an urban area and it doesn't exceed the size limits and so on of the plot and doesn't cast an ugly shadow and so on and so forth, do you have to
Yeah.
get an Act 250 or whatever permit?
Yeah, I think that's the question.
I don't know.
Is these,
That's utility
Technology.
permission too.
Mhm.
I mean, that will have unlimited transmission.
no,
These don't.
no, I mean, that's. But if you are. On a 5-acre site. And as technologies improve, you might be able to pack a whole lot of stuff using a whole lot. of energy into a small footprint, do we have the capacity to say no? What would trigger Act 250? So
And
we
the
should know
converse
that.
is the bill to prohibit data centers for 3 years. And we ask ourselves, with the speed that technology is developing, do we want to put ourselves out of the growth business for 3 years by law when there may be a solution to this day after tomorrow for all we know?
Yeah. I think that's part of my concern is, do we just want to say, we don't want you and get ourselves labeled unfriendly to technology?
Or
When
get
in
stuck with a
fact,
situation.
might like
I
the
think,
smaller versions.
I think, first of all, like I said, the bill is about bigger risks, first of all. Second of all, I think a lot of states, as we saw from the NC South thing, that incentivize them are now like regretting that they incentivized them, and are like, oh, shoot, maybe actually we want to
Mhm.
impose limits on
Yeah.
these things. And so I think it's smart to take a pause and make sure that we have the regulatory framework in place. And maybe we already do. Maybe the PUC and Act 250 already would cover it, but maybe not. And so I think that's the point of the bill, is to make sure. And that's what I think the House committee has dug into quite a bit. So you might want to check in with
Yeah.
Rep. James, and see where they're at with
But
the
we
bill.
will also do our own due
And I
diligence.
said do our own due diligence, because also you don't want to get into a situation in which you lock yourself out of and you create a legislative logjam for something that actually could be a significant benefit to us, and that the safety things that may not exist today may in fact exist tomorrow. But then we get into a situation in which it takes us, 5 years to make a decision, then we're out of the picture.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the safety concerns, I mean, the things use a ton of energy. That's the thing. They use so much, and our grid is already, a little
So we
shaky,
can
so.
start, I mean, this is to give us pause so we can look this through before we're faced with.
Well, also, if we're faced with something, we always say no.
Right, and that's it. Do we have the power to say no?
And that's
Well,
it.
it might not be us. That's the thing.
Well, I think that's what we're going to asking the question. What power do we have? What do we really want to prevent? Just saying no.
I don't think this is the problem that we have to solve because we don't have incentives in place. We don't have an
Oh,
abundance.
we have
of
incentives. They could come into veggie.
For a data center, those are his salaries, if I'm not mistaken.
That's the employees. If they come in or
Yeah,
capital improvements.
They don't generate that many.
I don't think they do, but I think we need to make sure that they aren't going to get a veggie grant.
I think it's,
Our electric rates are very high.
Yeah,
I think it's, yeah, our largest data center, 1 megawatt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
People
and
aren't.
that's, so you say, yeah, we love data centers as long as they don't use more than 2 megawatts. Or X number of gallons a day. And then there's that, what is it?
I don't-
We
it's
got
like
it
trying
out
to get
in
skyscrapers per-
on
don't think-
industrial wells
It's like shutting the door of
and
an industry
water
that
issue.
doesn't, he said it's.
Yeah, the water issue, something in, if you sink a well to provide water to your manufacturing plant, you couldn't, what did PCBs, what did we outlaw? In the water, maybe it was PFAS last year, the year before. And it could limit your ability, of course, if you're taking that much water out of the water table. And we don't have the real ability to do that. There were a couple companies that were taking out spring water. Remember, we've had bills about exporting water. They were bottling it and shipping it out.
16 ounces at a time.
Yeah, shipping it out of state in bottles, and there was a concern that you could draw down the water table from all of your neighbors' I was selling a house across the street and,
That'd have to be a lot of water bottles to really.
yeah, but one of these could sink a well and draw down the water table for 25 to 100. Just make sure
Yeah.
that we have the ability to.
It's so darn hard to build just about anything in this city. I'm not too worried about something. Building one of these things, but let's take some testimony.
I have actually, I think we should, I've had some conversations, it's like, we should take the data center approach, right? So these data centers for, AWS, those are the big ones, right? It's companies though that need this computing power and they need it to be really secure, really reliable, professionally managed. I said, why don't we take our captive insurance model where we're like the premier captive insurance regulatory, and why don't we take that and tailor it to data centers that are going to provide computing power for companies that need really good, and these are like the 1 megawatt, 2 megawatt varieties. They're not the,
Let's talk about that.
2.4 gigs.
Rather than ban things, let's encourage what we.
Like building these.
The question I asked yesterday, I was trying to get at, is there an offset? So if we're providing power to data centers that are doing, let's say, environmental efficiency work.
Sure.
Or, you know what I mean? Like it's like it pays itself back. I was wondering if it doesn't sound like anyone, it doesn't sound like anyone's doing that data, but it would be interesting to see how
Yeah.
it pays off.
There is, I think,
Gotta be.
if you're, looking for people that need really highly secure, well-regulated data processing and computing services, like you could set up the regulatory framework here so that if a company needed that, they would know that if I need that level of service, like Vermont has the regulatory structure that I
They
need to
could do it.
But electricity is the key determinant of it.
Yeah, you have to,
Electricity.
Yeah.
right. I mean, that's why I think, those are like the 1, 2 megawatt varieties. Well, you just have to have some baseload generation to support that. I mean,
Have that, I don't think we do. We don't have excess. If we had a nuclear power plant that would.
right now, I think right now as we sit here, I mean, the environmentalists wouldn't care for this comment, but a business that decides to do its own generation can use natural gas. We have natural gas, but it's part of the state, right? I mean, if all those res requirements, those are only for utilities.
We went through this with IBM, then Global Foundries.
Yeah.
Because they use more electricity than most of the rest of the
They use as
state.
much as Burlington, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
They were a big user and we don't do. A lot of other states, Massachusetts, the more you use, the lower rate per kilowatt you pay. I never could figure out why my grandmother's electric bill was higher than mine. Because I had kids, I was putting clothes in a dryer and all kinds of other things. And we don't do that, so they didn't get any, and that it was a competitive model with Fishkill. And we finally let them become their own utility. But that was, I think, the first 10 years I was here. And these would be similar big users. So it might be a good idea to think through how you would set them up. Because they aren't going to get any preferential rate, which probably means they won't come here. New York, on the other hand, uses cheap Niagara power and their business rate is lower than their residential.
it's less
rate.
than half what hers.
Yeah, and we don't have Niagara Falls. So,
You could just set up your gas and put it right by your sewage treatment plant.
I was thinking of your renewal fund.
I was thinking of the work, actually.
They could
Environmentally, we ought to have wood fired
That's
data
true.
centers.
with manure.
You could.
Um,
That's
but,
what we're looking at.
which is probably a reason why they aren't gonna come here, because if they're getting a preferential rate for being a large user in other states, they are not gonna come here.
Yeah.
To do that.
However, they set up their own generation.
They. That is something, and they're gonna have a lot of roof space to put solar panels on.
The other states are sort of requiring it. They're saying, yeah, go ahead, build your 100 megawatt data center, but you gotta produce on it.
Yes,
You've got to,
You
at the
can't-
very least.
You can't just take it off the grid. and
Yeah.
Double everything's utility rates.
That's a big roof.
Yeah.
Large.
so,
It's an interesting industry.
yeah,
Well, that's what the whole, I think, I understand it. That's what the whole gallium nitride project is, right? Is to make it so the chips that run all these, CPUs that make these data centers have a much more, energy efficient chip. That's what the whole gallium nitride. That's why the military's getting it, right? Because they have these chips in aircraft and they only have so much generation. So if you have a gallium nitride chip, you don't need to have as much generation. And that's what it's all about.
okay.
Yeah.
We'll manufacture those.
That's what that, we got we're doing it over UVM and Vermont Semiconductor and
Good.
yeah. No, we're kind of on the cutting edge of that whole thing. So good for us.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so I think we've got some
Super.
direction for the future. All right,
Awesome.
go to apply.